Okay, let's talk about Summer League for a bit, and we of course can start with Wemby's first game, as well as what we've seen so far from Scoot, Amen, Cam Whitmore, Brandon Miller. I also want to do a Chet update. We also saw Jabari going off in that Rockets game. And my plan is to hopefully do another Summer League video in a few days and talk about other guys. But let's dive into Wemby's first game, and I think it's safe to say with the first one, he looked better on defense than he did on offense. Am I concerned? No. As the title says, I am not worried about Victor Wembanyama. So he had 5 blocks, and I think 2 of them were on jump shots, 3 of them were around the basket. One of them was that switch where he blocked Brandon Miller's three-point attempt. Another one was where he kind of like helped from the wing to block the jump shooter from behind, or from the side, I guess. And yeah, I don't think any of us are surprised to see his block shots, but I think the really interesting thing was how he was used defensively in this game, where a lot of the time he was on Brandon Miller. I mean, there were some possessions where he was guarding the 5, but for, what seemed like a decent chunk, he was guarding more of a wing player, and within that there was definitely some switching, whether it be on the ball or off the ball with him. As far as the possessions where he was guarding, like, let's say Kai Jones, I mean, I remember there was like one play where he was in drop that became a switch, but he held up well throughout it. Of course, there was the Kai Jones lob over him where I think Wemby was in more of a typical drop, and if anything, he could have probably been like a step back, which would have made it a little easier for him to contest the lob, but even then, he almost got the pass. And actually, the amount of ground he covered on that play was kind of wild. But okay, Kai Jones got the dunk off. We all saw it. Of course, one play does not dictate your whole game on defense, and I think overall Wemby's defense was really, really good. And I think the plan is for him to play one more Summer League game, and I am intrigued to see how they use him defensively there. Like, is he guarding centers more often in that game? I think it's against the Blazers. Hopefully Scoot plays. Do we go to the offense? All right, let's go to the offense. So as far as like some of the missed threes and stuff, okay, fine, he missed some threes. That happens. But when we saw him try to put the ball on the floor, there was some things to talk about there. So number one, I did think the Spurs offense was like kind of bad through some of the times where Wemby had the ball, where it's like everything stopped and it's just like, let's just look at Wemby, and then, the crowd's going crazy. And it did just feel like a weird thing where him being like, I guess I'm going to ISO on this play, which did result in a couple of times where like he would try to drive and then, the help would be there reaching at him because he's a super tall dude dribbling the ball. I mean, clearly he can dribble better than your typical guy of that height. We saw it with that like between the legs into the crossover into the pass to his teammate who missed the shot at the basket. So like he's got those moves in him, but when the defense is able to crowd him, especially when it's a play where the Spurs offense is just like not really doing anything, yeah, I mean, like Draymond said, he's not going to be able to just dribble his way to the basket with no resistance, and clearly he lost the ball and stuff sometimes in this game. But on the flip side, I do want to point out, there were a couple of times where he would have the ball in the three-point line, and he would get from like the three-point line to somewhere around the paint in what seemed like half a step, including that sort of missed dunk that he had, which I think was like his second miss of the game or whatever, where it got kind of awkward underneath the basket for him. But we did see moments where he covered ground with the ball that you just shouldn't normally be able to do. But the other thing to go with this is, of course, like, you can't ignore the dude's weight. And I know he has said that he doesn't have to get bigger, he has to get stronger. Like, he's going to have to put on some weight. Like, we can all see the situation here. But he's got to do it right, which means it's going to happen gradually. It's not going to happen overnight, which can allow him to get more physical. And I mean, hey, look at him. For his first bucket where he got the seal, like, in transition, and then they got the pass to him, he got the three-point play, like, that's the type of thing that you're hoping more from with him. Whereas if you compare that to, like, one of his last plays, it was that face-up on, like, the left wing where he just went to like a spin move, and it was kind of like not even a hook shot, like a push shot sort of thing. It didn't go in, but there wasn't a lot of contact. Like, he wasn't really backing down his guy like that. There was the one where he tried to back down Brandon Miller and he got the ball stolen from him. So sure, he certainly looked a little awkward. I don't think the Spurs offense did him a lot of favors on some of these plays. I will say that his screen setting was something. I mean, I do think he could have set better screens. I also think him screening could still be huge for him in the league. I mean, just his skill set, and I mean, we'll see where the jump shot gets to early on. But so yeah, again, am I concerned? Not at all. I think Wembanyama's potential is just still through the roof. Sure, it does seem like his defense is better than his offense right now, but I also think his offense is much better than what he showed tonight. Anyway, let's talk about some other guys. So let's go to the Scoot and Amen game that eventually became the Jabari game. First off, hopefully they're both all right. Scoot's got the shoulder, Amen's got the ankle now. And then we can talk about Brandon Miller for a little bit. So Scoot was cooking off pick and rolls in that first, man. He had, two, like, step back or side step twos when they were, like, going under the screen on him or whatever. He had that step back three when they went under the screen. He had 2 different times. This was not pick and rolls. These were, like, more, like, wing ISO things or whatever, where he would, like, have a hesitation and then immediately get a burst of speed, and he was able to get by Amen, I think, twice with that. One of them which led to a reverse layup. The other one I don't remember, but it was good stuff, one where he like got his defender on his back, like right after a basket, and then he just like burst to speed to the rim and got a finish, or maybe it was a foul. He had, 6 assists before he went out, where one of them he just pushes the pace like crazy, the whole defense collapses on him, and then it's Chris Murray open for a three. He also had a number of just routine nice passes where it's like, oh, you got a seal in the post, let me find you real quick, little stuff like that. I will say that once the Rockets started switching screens, it felt like they were able to kind of get Scoot under control a little bit. At the same time, it would have been really awesome to see him in that fourth quarter, where we saw Jabari hit that crazy buzzer beater, and hey man, Jabari, those shots were falling, man. And, that's the big question with him. Because, we know he's good defensively. We know he makes the right play and all that. It's just a matter of, is the shooting going to get there? And I do think a lot of that last year was because the Rockets just didn't have an actual offense for him sometimes, to where it's like, not running him off of screens, not allowing him to be in the rhythm of the game. So it's like, you haven't touched the ball in a few minutes. Here, go shoot it, that sort of thing. I think of all Jabari's buckets, the one I liked the most was just a pull-up three in transition, which, okay, sure, I'm definitely being prisoner of the results on this one. But I remember last Summer League where I found myself being a little like, ooh, he does not want to shoot the ball at all in this possession. And then to do that in that game, I thought it was encouraging. And also because during the interview when they had Udoka on, he was talking about Jabari's aggressiveness and stuff. So it's good stuff. But yeah, he was huge in this one. We get to Amen. His first step is just crazy, man. I mean, that one where he got the big switched onto him, and then it's just one little dribble, and then boom, he's just gone in a half a second or a quarter of a second. It's just crazy. As far as how he was working off of screens, I remember a floater that he had that was almost at the free throw line versus drop that got him one. There was another one where he just busted out basically a Euro step as they were going under a screen and the big was dropping on him, because that's what teams are going to do. They're going to try to dare him to, make pull-up mid-rangers and all that. But he was able to get a lefty layup off of that. He had a couple of great looks to Jay Huff, the rolling big off of screens where one he's jumping midair and then finds him. I think one that Huff dropped, but the pass was great nonetheless. And then the one where he went baseline and got Tari Eason on the bounce pass, man, amen. All the signs were there, dude. Who else we got? Let's go to Brandon Miller. So I thought in the first couple games, he just kind of wasn't getting the ball. And when he did, he was pulling off some really nice passes. In the second game, I remember one play where he's getting doubled on the baseline, and then he whips a hook pass to the opposite corner for an open three. His teammate missed it, but I was like, yeah, that was hype. And he would be open for three, but they wouldn't find him a lot of the time in the first couple games. So at least in this one, we saw him get shots up, and what did he go, 5 for 15? I'm not concerned at all. Mostly because my biggest takeaway with Brandon Miller's Summer League is you put this guy in an actual offense, and it's just going to be a lot better. Let's talk about Cam Whitmore for a second. I do think we saw kind of the full Cam Whitmore experience a little bit. So we did see some athletic plays, definitely some stuff at the rim, exciting stuff. I think we also saw a couple tunnel vision-y moments where he just kind of went hell-bent on going towards the basket, and it's Amen was right there on the fast break. You didn't see him, and you committed an offensive foul or whatever. There were also a couple of times around screens where he's facing a dropping big, and he just kind of went at the big with a level of aggressiveness that is a good sign because you're not scared of the contact, and it does suggest that he can get a lot of trips to the line and all that. But that is, of course, a pretty physically demanding style of play, but he's strong as hell, so that's probably just how it's going to be. He did also take a couple of tough threes. I don't know what to make of that, but yeah. Let's talk about Chet. So defensively, Chet has looked good, man. Similar to Wemby, he's already had one time where he switched onto somebody and then blocked their shot. Although then the ball went back to the guy he blocked, and then he went down to the rim and almost blocked him again, which was pretty wild. And then on the very next play on the other end, they threw him the ball, then he goes off the dribble, gets fouled. We've had a couple times where he's gone coast to coast off of rebounds or making a play for somebody. We've also seen him guarding more of fours, that happened a lot in their last one against the Grizzlies, to where he's also more of that help guy. And within that, he did have some possessions where he was guarding the five, and I found it interesting that, at least in what I saw, the Thunder were not having him drop as much as they were having him higher up on screens or even switching a little bit. Because I'm pretty sure if you go to last Summer League, I think they were having him play drop more often. But look, Chet's a good athlete. He can certainly move defensively. I think there's many different ways you can use him on defense, and they've tried it out already this Summer League, which I think is fine. As for Chet's offense, he's had some threes that have been short. He's lost his dribble some. The offense seems more of a sign that the guy just wasn't able to play for a while, coming back from the foot injury. Whereas the defense seems like he's pretty much ready to go.